Fatima Al-Rashid hid a life-changing secret from Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor for months, but on his royal wedding night, her hidden pregnancy forced a confrontation that would shake his world and change the course of both their lives forever. Fatima Al-Rashid had always been cautious, carefully managing her life and the secrets she carried. Her brief relationship with Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor had been intense but discreet, leaving behind traces that no one in the public eye could trace. When she discovered she was pregnant, she understood the magnitude of the decision she now faced. Revealing the pregnancy could bring danger, shame, and scandal, not just for herself, but for the sheikh and his family. She chose silence, hiding her condition from the world, from the media, and most importantly, from Khalid himself. Every day became a careful balancing act, a combination of avoiding attention while planning for the future of her child. She confided in only one person, a trusted friend who promised discretion, and she moved cautiously through the bustling city of Dubai, aware of the potential consequences if the secret were exposed. Meanwhile, Sheikh Khalid's world revolved around preparation for his royal wedding. The event was set to be one of the most extravagant in the Gulf, a display of wealth, influence, and power. Invitations had been sent to prominent figures, business magnates, diplomats, celebrities, and royals from neighboring countries. Every element of the ceremony had been orchestrated meticulously, from the towering floral arrangements to the intricate menu, the sparkling chandeliers, and the massive ballroom designed to impress and overwhelm with its grandeur. Khalid oversaw the preparations with his usual precision, attending meetings with planners, reviewing guest lists, and ensuring that security protocols were flawless. Cameras were installed, guards posted strategically, and every staff member carefully vetted, leaving no room for error. Despite the splendor of the wedding, a quiet tension lingered beneath the surface. Fatima watched from a distance, observing Khalid and the preparations through carefully timed glimpses and indirect contact. She knew that the celebration, though glamorous, could inadvertently expose her secret. Each passing day heightened her anxiety, and she mentally rehearsed scenarios in which her child's existence could be revealed. Her concern was not simply about confrontation. It was about protecting herself and ensuring her child's safety in a world that could be unforgiving. On the day of the wedding, the grand hall shimmered with luxury. Guests arrived in designer attire, their excitement and curiosity barely masking their awe at the opulence surrounding them. Music played softly, and cameras flashed as Khalid made his entrance, smiling confidently, projecting the image of a perfect royal groom. The bride, poised and elegant, followed, completing the tableau of a meticulously staged celebration. Everything appeared flawless, every detail executed to perfection, but Fatima remained acutely aware that her own reality was entirely different from the public display. As the ceremony progressed, Khalid appeared composed and in control, yet Fatima noted subtle changes in his demeanor. Moments of distraction, brief pauses where his gaze seemed to search for something unseen. She wondered if fate would intervene, whether the hidden truth she carried would collide with the spectacle of the evening. Fatima's heart raced as the final moments of the ceremony approached, knowing that the wedding night itself could force her carefully guarded secret into the open. Every glance, every movement, every unseen interaction could change the course of events in ways no one anticipated. By the time the first toast was raised, the tension was palpable. Khalid, surrounded by admirers and family, had no idea that a hidden truth was watching, waiting, and ready to confront him in a moment that would alter the night, his life, and the lives of those involved forever. Fatima's secret pregnancy hung over the celebration like a shadow, unnoticed yet inevitable, marking the start of a night that would turn from joyous to fateful in ways no one could predict. The wedding celebration continued with all the grandeur expected of a royal event. Yet beneath the glittering lights and flowing champagne, Fatima remained acutely aware of the delicate position she held. She had positioned herself carefully, observing the sheikh and his guests from a distance that allowed her to remain unnoticed. Every smile, every toast, every interaction she witnessed carried the potential to change her carefully concealed secret. She moved subtly among the crowd, blending in while constantly assessing the security patterns and movements of staff. Her mind raced with scenarios, imagining the moment when her secret could no longer be contained, knowing that timing would be everything. Khalid Al-Mansoor, in his tailored ceremonial attire, appeared the epitome of composure. He navigated the ballroom with practiced ease, greeting dignitaries, acknowledging well-wishers, and maintaining the flawless image expected of a man of his status. To the public, the wedding was a spectacle of wealth, influence, and meticulous control. But to Fatima, the event was a ticking clock, each minute increasing the risk that someone would notice her presence, or that the pregnancy could be revealed inadvertently. She had prepared evidence, medical documents, photos, and personal records that confirmed her condition, but she had no intention of revealing it unless absolutely necessary. As the evening progressed, Khalid excused himself briefly from the main hall, retreating to a private area under the guise of attending to last-minute wedding formalities. Fatima recognized this as the critical moment she had anticipated. If she moved too soon, she might draw attention. If she waited too long, she risked losing control of her carefully planned timing. With cautious steps, she maneuvered toward the secluded corridor, avoiding cameras and staff while keeping her presence discreet. Every movement had been calculated, rehearsed mentally, and executed with precision. Unbeknownst to the guests, security personnel had been unusually busy that night, responding to minor disruptions, checking access points, and maintaining the illusion of order. Investigators reviewing the footage later would notice strange patterns. Rapid movement in hallways, temporary camera blind spots, and staff members entering and exiting restricted areas at odd intervals. At the time, however, these small anomalies went entirely unnoticed, allowing Fatima to approach the Sheikh's private space without interference. Inside the private suite, Khalid prepared for the night's final ceremonial duties, unaware that the unseen observer was now within close proximity. Fatima's anxiety grew, but so did her resolve. She had come too far to allow fear to control her actions. She carefully set aside any visible documents or props, ensuring that her approach would appear natural, unthreatening, and deliberate. The atmosphere was tense yet invisible to outsiders, a silent struggle between secrecy and revelation. Minutes felt like hours. Every sound, the distant music, the clinking of glasses, the murmur of guests, reminded Fatima that time was fleeting. The Sheikh's aides were preoccupied with orchestrating the final moments of the wedding celebration, creating a perfect cover. She moved closer, her heart pounding, aware that a single misstep could not only expose her secret, but also endanger her safety. Finally, she reached the space where Khalid was alone, preparing to confront him indirectly, armed with the undeniable truth of her pregnancy. At that precise moment, the delicate balance between concealment and exposure would tip, setting in motion a sequence of events that would forever change the wedding night, the Sheikh's perception of his life, and the lives of everyone connected to this secret. The opulence, the celebration, and the public smiles masked a tension so profound that only the participants could feel its weight, a tension that promised to erupt into revelation and consequences that no one could have foreseen. Inside the private suite, the tension was almost unbearable. Fatima stood silently, her presence unnoticed at first, as Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor adjusted ceremonial documents and prepared for the final private rituals of the wedding night. The room was dimly lit, with only the soft glow of decorative lamps reflecting off polished surfaces. Every detail of the space had been meticulously arranged for aesthetics and comfort, but now, it became a confined stage for a confrontation that neither party had anticipated. Fatima had rehearsed this moment countless times in her mind, knowing that the revelation of her pregnancy could alter everything. Khalid remained unaware of her presence, focused on tasks that to him were routine. He handled envelopes, signed documents, and coordinated with his aides, completely oblivious to the quiet observer who carried a truth powerful enough to disrupt his carefully curated life. Fatima knew that timing was crucial. One wrong move could draw attention from security, expose her to the public, or result in immediate confrontation. She adjusted her position, making sure she could control the narrative, even if the Sheikh tried to dismiss or deny the situation. Her evidence was precise and irrefutable. Medical documentation confirming the pregnancy, photos of prenatal visits, and digital records that tracked the conception timeline. Each piece had been organized meticulously to leave no room for doubt or misinterpretation. She had anticipated possible objections and prepared responses to neutralize them without escalating conflict. This was not a confrontation born of impulse. It was a carefully calculated move designed to protect both herself and her child. As Khalid finally noticed her, the shock registered immediately. His expression shifted from calm composure to surprise and confusion, eyes narrowing slightly as he processed the undeniable truth in front of him. The room, previously filled with subtle background noise from the celebrations, now felt suspended, every second stretching with weight and consequence. Khalid's aides were still outside, unaware that a private reckoning was occurring. Fatima remained composed, her body language controlled, her voice steady though her heart raced. She presented her evidence methodically, ensuring that each detail was visible and verifiable. The Sheikh's reaction evolved from disbelief to concern, as he realized the scope of what had been hidden from him for months. The pregnancy was no longer an abstract concept. It was a tangible, undeniable reality that demanded acknowledgement. While investigators later reviewed the wedding night footage, they noted subtle movements in the hallways outside the suite. Slight shifts in security, unnoticed glances, and brief moments where aides had almost entered the room but retreated. These near interceptions highlighted the precariousness of Fatima's timing. Had she moved a few minutes earlier or later, the exposure could have been catastrophic, turning a private confrontation into a public scandal. The Sheikh's thoughts raced, balancing personal shock with considerations of family, reputation, and potential legal implications. Fatima, meanwhile, maintained her composure, understanding that her careful planning had granted her control over the situation. The hidden pregnancy, once a secret carried in fear, had transformed into a powerful tool of truth, compelling the Sheikh to acknowledge a past he had long ignored. By the time the confrontation ended, the dynamic between them had shifted. Khalid could no longer act as if the secret did not exist. Fatima's calculated approach ensured that the revelation remained private yet undeniable, laying the foundation for consequences that would ripple far beyond the walls of the suite. The wedding night, meant to symbolize celebration and unity, had become a turning point, a collision of hidden truths, strategic planning, and the beginning of a reckoning that neither could escape. After the private confrontation, the atmosphere of the wedding shifted subtly but irrevocably. To the outside world, the celebration continued without interruption, with music, laughter, and clinking glasses masking the intense drama that had unfolded behind closed doors. Fatima had ensured that her presence and the revelation of her pregnancy remained contained, but the stakes had escalated dramatically. Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor now faced a complex mix of emotions: shock, responsibility, and the immediate need to navigate the potential consequences of a secret long hidden. Every decision he made in the following hours would carry weight, affecting not only his personal reputation but the perception of his family, his allies, and the larger public. Khalid withdrew briefly with his closest aides to assess the situation. Security protocols were tightened, communications monitored, and sensitive information secured. Every phone call, every message was scrutinized for potential leaks or breaches. A wedding initially designed to showcase wealth, power, and elegance had inadvertently exposed vulnerabilities, prompting a level of caution that few had anticipated. Fatima, now in a position of indirect influence, had shifted the balance of control. Though physically absent from the public eye, the knowledge she held transformed the dynamic of power in the room and beyond. The Sheikh's aides, unaware of the full scope of the revelation, continued to manage the ceremony's logistics, ensuring that the public perception of perfection remained intact. Guests remained blissfully ignorant of the hidden drama, their admiration for Khalid's composure untainted by the reality that unfolded behind the suite doors. Observers reviewing footage later would note unusual movements, subtle gestures, whispered conversations, and temporary diversions, but at the time, nothing appeared out of the ordinary. Fatima, meanwhile, maintained a careful distance. She avoided direct confrontation with anyone else, her presence invisible but her influence undeniable. The planning that had allowed her to reach this moment now extended into her strategy for maintaining safety and control. She had navigated corridors, security checkpoints, and social obstacles with precision, ensuring that her secret, and the evidence supporting it, remained protected. Her pregnancy, once a private truth, had become a powerful instrument of leverage, compelling acknowledgement and cautious action from the Sheikh and those around him. Investigators would later uncover that multiple individuals had been indirectly involved in the unfolding events. From financial advisors to security personnel, a network of intermediaries had unknowingly contributed to the controlled environment that allowed Fatima to remain unseen. This complex interplay of movement, observation, and timing highlighted how even high-security events could be vulnerable to calculated, deliberate intervention. As the evening progressed, Khalid began considering the long-term implications of Fatima's revelation. Beyond immediate shock and personal responsibility, he had to account for legal, social, and familial consequences. He also had to reconcile with the knowledge that Fatima's careful planning had outmaneuvered even his extensive security measures. In many ways, her strategic foresight forced him to acknowledge realities he had preferred to ignore. By the end of the night, the celebration had returned to its apparent normalcy, though the private truths had fundamentally altered the landscape. Fatima's secret, now known to the Sheikh, had shifted the balance of power. The wedding night, once intended as a display of opulence and unity, had become a turning point, a delicate interplay of hidden motives, careful planning, and the unveiling of consequences that would continue to unfold in the days, months, and years ahead. In the aftermath of the wedding, the consequences of Fatima Al-Rashid's revelation began to unfold in ways no one had anticipated. Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor, while composed in public, was forced to confront the realities that had been hidden for months. Fatima's pregnancy was no longer a secret, and the Sheikh had to navigate the delicate balance between personal responsibility, family honor, and public perception. Every decision carried weight, and the stakes extended far beyond a single night of celebration. Fatima secured legal and medical support immediately, ensuring that her rights and those of her unborn child were protected. She remained cautious but determined, aware that the public and private consequences of the revelation could impact her safety. Her careful planning and discretion had kept the situation contained, but she now had to manage the ongoing dynamics with the Sheikh, his aides, and anyone else connected to his inner circle. Every interaction was calculated to maintain her position and avoid unnecessary exposure. Meanwhile, Khalid worked to manage the fallout within his family and among his advisors. He consulted trusted confidants and legal experts to assess the implications of the pregnancy, from inheritance issues to potential financial obligations and social ramifications. The Sheikh's life, previously dominated by luxury, influence, and control, was now complicated by an unexpected personal responsibility that demanded careful attention. Investigators and analysts later reconstructed the events of the wedding night, revealing the precision of Fatima's planning. Her ability to navigate security protocols, avoid detection, and present irrefutable evidence demonstrated a level of foresight that ensured her objectives were achieved without immediate confrontation or danger. The coordination of movements, timing, and strategic positioning highlighted her intelligence and meticulous preparation, proving that a single individual could shift the balance of power even in the most controlled and high-security environments. The revelation also had implications for the Sheikh's public image. Khalid's team moved quickly to ensure that media coverage remained focused on the celebration rather than private matters. Controlled narratives, selective photographs, and strategic statements were deployed to maintain the illusion of a flawless wedding. Yet behind the scenes, the knowledge of the pregnancy reshaped interactions, planning, and relationships within his household and business empire. Fatima, now recognized privately as a key figure in the unfolding story, became a central point in the network of decision-making. Her careful concealment, strategic timing, and unwavering composure allowed her to exert influence without confrontation, demonstrating how preparation and awareness could empower an individual even against someone as powerful as a sheikh. Her pregnancy, once a hidden secret, had become a force that demanded attention, respect, and acknowledgement. In the weeks and months that followed, the consequences continued to unfold. Khalid adjusted his personal and professional priorities, recognizing the long-term significance of Fatima's revelation. Legal agreements were drafted, protective measures were put in place, and both parties worked cautiously to manage the evolving situation. What began as a secret hidden in fear had transformed into a pivotal moment that reshaped relationships, power dynamics, and personal responsibility. Ultimately, the wedding night became a turning point in both their lives. Fatima's courage and strategic intelligence allowed her to navigate danger, maintain her secret, and assert control over her future. Khalid, confronted with the unexpected reality, was forced to balance pride, responsibility, and image in a world where even the most meticulously planned celebrations could be disrupted by a single hidden truth. The night revealed the fragile boundary between perception and reality, demonstrating that power, secrecy, and careful planning can converge to shape the course of lives in profound and unexpected ways.